All right. So most of us aspire to work into FAANG companies, and it takes a lot. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot for a lot of people. Some people are just blessed, and we have one of those blessed souls and a hardworking soul amongst all. Well, we have Chandan Bhagat, and he's working with one of the best FAANG companies that we have. So hi, Chandan, how are you?
Hey, Abhinav, I'm doing good. And I'm really excited about this call and like sharing and talking about uh, and connecting with the users and walking them through any questions they have for their career.
That's great. That's good to know. And all we would expect from you is to have fun and share your wisdom. And bringing on the first question towards you, how did your career start? And can you just enlighten our viewers that where exactly are you working right now?
Yeah, yeah. So I started my career back in India in Mumbai. So I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering. My whole schooling was in Central School, Kendra Vidyalaya, defense kid. And my dad, he did engineering, so I wanted to get into engineering. And when I started my career, did electrical engineering from Mumbai University. And immediately after that, I got a job at Reliance Communications, and I started my journey into the engineering world, but a specific part of engineering, which is network engineering. And working there for 4.5 years in India, I decided to come for my master's in US. I applied, gave GRE, and applied to the universities, got an admit here in the University of Colorado at Boulder. I completed my master's. While I was doing that, I got an internship, a full-time job in US. And this is when you can actually study and work both. So it was fortunate. My previous work ex in India really played in me landing that first job because they were looking for someone with a similar background. And being in Denver, it was a hub. So one thing was I placed myself into a school and a college that was also really hot for the market. But I joined my college during recession. This was back in 2009. So 2005, I did my engineering, started, graduated, and then 4 years it was recession. And one of my friends told me, what should you do in recession? You should study, because by the time you study and you're done with your degree, the market will come up. So the best time to do invest is when there's a recession. People were like, so as soon as I came out, many companies were looking for a job. Got a job there. And while I was working at the end of my course, Google came to the campus because multiple folks from my previous batch, alumni, were working at Google. So they came in and we had like 40, 50 people interview for that. And I already had a job, but I didn't want to, like, I was like very happy. I didn't want to go. And, but Google was Google, right? So everyone aspires to that. But I actually didn't think I'll make the cut. So I came to my interviews. I was really very relaxed. One of the things I knew, I didn't clear many interviews on campus, but I cleared the Google interview. And when I reflect back, is basically I was very relaxed. I was like, maybe I'm just going to be what I am. As you said, this whole is having fun. I was having fun, because I had a job, I'd already settled. Even if this didn't work out, I was relaxed, and I was by my own natural self. So somehow that clicked. 7, 8 interviews, 2 phone interviews, all those cleared. But one thing I knew that I had prepared very well during my studies, and I was giving interviews and after interviews and doing, I think I did like 300 job applications. Yeah, and out of that I only got 10% calls, like 10 interview calls, right? Out of that, 9 I failed for other companies. I made it to Google. I already had a job that I was working while I was working. But the reason I got through Google was, I think at that point I had just so much practice of doing interviews that I think I was just not cared. I didn't care much. For all the other ones, I was so much like, oh, I have to make it. So even a small mistake I did, it broke my confidence, right? With Google, I was like, there's no way these guys are going to hire me. So I think that's
And
like
you
at
have
least
probably become seasoned interviews.
it does. It actually is a mindset, and it's being getting comfortable. So I think that was the breaking barrier for myself. And then, my job at Google, my first job at Google was in the area that I was working in. My work ex lined up. I was doing the job. I was in the industry working on this. So it was a subject matter expert, right? So I knew the content in and out. So definitely those things played out. But I think more so that with the mindset that I'm going to say what I don't know. I'm just going to be very honest. I'm not going to bluff my way in. I'll say what I don't know. So that's what it was. So my role, I joined Google in 2011. So I just completed 11 years at Google. Started as an engineer. I was at, I think, the second level for entry. So when you join, you were at level 3. I joined at when you join, joined at level 2 engineer. With my work ex and all, I joined at level 3, So it just started like an engineer. I did a couple of projects early on. And one thing I learned early on is to work on technologies that I think I really had a good mentor. So I think the first thing what you want to do when you join Google, like, or any other company, you want to find a good mentor, and sometimes you get some mentors assigned to you, but sometimes you actually see good people around you, right? And then you go and work for them, so you see what they want to do. So I think I started there and kind of help the senior engineer, the tech lead, to deliver a project. I told them, I'll do anything you want me to do, right? Just tell me what you want to get done. And by doing that, I was learning by seeing them what they were doing, and I had someone who really, really understood well the company culture. They understood the changes. They kind of navigated you, but they had an incentive to help you because you were helping them. Most of the time, most people who join in, they expect not to ask for help because they feel like if I ask for help, I'll be incompetent, right? Or they fear that by asking they're showing weakness, so they want to show. So I think it started there. But I don't know if I address your first question. Like, I know it's a pretty long answer and I want to get a pause here just to make sure, like, it gives you a brief overview and my starting journey, but there's a lot more to cover. But I hope
there's an insane amount of work experience that you have. So
I know.
So is there any particular point that company looks for in terms of a cultural fit? Is there anything that they particularly look in a candidate that this person should be suitable in our culture? And, these are certain pointers that should be there in a person when they hire a new employee.
So Google has this concept of googliness. And
Okay.
for many years when I joined, this was something that was called out over and over again. And a lot of people who joined was like, what is this googliness, right? Like, is it like googliness in the cricket terms, like you're throwing googlies at people and
Yeah.
like that? So I was like, no. So googliness, and I think it was very well defined in one of the calls with one of the senior leaders at that time. Like, this is me like 1 or 2 years into the company. Even I'm trying to figure out, what is this? What is googliness, right? And they actually had a really good example. There was an engineer in a team who had a problem hearing, and for that person in the team, it was really hard to collaborate in the meeting. His colleague, a software engineer, saw that, and he actually built the captions for like automatically by hearing voice, it will populate captions. And they just did that so that it would help the other person, right? Now, there was no need for them to do that. But I think the idea there is that inherently you have to be in a space that you are solving problems, and you're solving problems that matter. And it's not just about you and your problems, but it is about people around you, So that really comes down to being helpful, being collaborative. I think it's very easy to throw those terms out there, but it really takes a lot of effort to do those things. And I think that's what really is important at Google, is they actually look for that quality. Is, are you someone who will come and contribute and be helpful and collaborative, right? And this is really the theme. If in other companies, and I don't know, I don't want to talk about all the other companies, the focus is what will you do, how will you get yourself, how will you deliver your stuff. Here I think it's more collaborative culture. People are not threatened by others showing better than what they are. I think people really appreciate that, and people will be helping people learn about it. you know to give an example, like someone is really good at X, you know they actually will enjoy teaching others how to do X, and it does require a lot more time to do it, right? So there's a key distinction between that. uh, the other culture I would say is, I think having this drive and a passion about growth mindset. And I think growth mindset comes from curiosity, from not settling for what is status quo. I think there is this inherent quality I've seen across very consistently, that people come in and they challenge, but they challenge in a respectful way. The three R's are very important at Google. Respect your users, respect each other, and respect the opportunity that you have. These three R's are fundamental to the googliness that we're talking about. You have to respect the opportunity you got, like the change you can make. You have to respect each other. Even though you don't agree with them, you don't need to be rude or mean. You know, it may take you more time to be nice, but it pays very well in longer term. You know, if you're saying like just do it because I'm telling you, it's not helpful. But if you tell someone like, here's why you need to do it, and let me walk you through why this has been the case, and they walk you through a bunch of things, then you're actually being more nice to them, right? So it's I think those are the fundamental building blocks for the culture at Google. You know, it's a very deliberative company too, right? Like it's an engineering company. They love to talk about options. So I think it's a deliberative engineering company which really takes the user's perspective very, very seriously, you know. And we are rooted in what impact these will have to our users. You have to be the advocate for our users, you know. Sometimes you join a company and the company is trying to get their agenda out, you know. But I think Google's philosophy has been follow the user, the money will follow you, you know. So I think these are like, there are a lot of more things, but I think these things are really what comes to my mind as a top things, you know.
Okay. And, if there are any tips regarding, someone who's applying to, any of the FAANG companies like Google. So what are the tips like, regarding their resume, LinkedIn, networking, interview tips, like any kind of tip that you can share, which can definitely help them land an offer?
Mhm. So I think the first level is applying, right? And as I told you, you have to apply um, uh, a lot, maybe sometimes, to even get your resume in. So I think, getting help, especially I know FAANGPath had a lot of really good resume reviewers and mentors, using their tips, going out there and figuring out what keywords matter. Um, looking into your profile. And a lot of time I've seen candidates, they undersell what they have done, and they feel like this will be an important detail, right? But focus on the role that you're applying and have different resumes for different roles. Don't just use one resume fits all. Don't get lazy over there. Try to think about the role, look at the job opening, see what are the things they're looking for, and try to find projects that if you are already working and you have work experience, say 3 to 4 years, then look at the role and try to find examples where that fits that role, and then you can highlight those. Like as a hiring manager, um, I'm looking at resumes almost every other day. I meet with candidates, and I have to shortlist which candidates will be good fit. And the key distinction, what I try to do is, okay, what are the projects they have done? What is the impact that you have done with those projects? what was your contribution to those projects? You can talk about a product which is really, really nice, but it doesn't tell me what you did with that product, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
times people will say, oh, I worked on X, oh, I worked on Y, but you do want to add a bit more about, I made this, I actually did this change here, you know I actually led this effort. People are looking
Mm.
for folks and candidates that show some proactiveness. They have shown some appetite for making things better, which is their own ideas, right? So highlight those things based on the role, right? Now, say that's get you to the role fitting resume. Maybe that's what gets you more calls, right? Uh, you definitely want to reach out to someone in the company. Go to LinkedIn, look at your network. Again, if you don't have a network, try to build network. Try to attend events. Try to go and find people who know people. Say you don't know people at Google or FAANG or any other company. Find your friends who know people there. Try to ask them to connect you to them. If you directly reach out, maybe they won't respond. If you have your
Mm.
friend or a colleague or someone else, ask them who they know, you have a better chance for getting to connected.
Yeah.
Now you get that connection established. It's called a weak tie. And what happens is that, say you are interested in a role, they can connect with you with that particular person in that role, right? uh, so try to do those things. Try to get understand, see what the role about is. Have them take a look at your resume, see if it actually makes sense, right? And they'll give you some pointers around that, right? Now, say, and after they have invested a bit on you and helped you a bit, because people want to be helpful. In general, people want to be helpful. They usually don't have enough time, but usually they will be helpful, right? So again, even there, you have to reach out to 10 people. Maybe one will apply. Usually people will actually reach out to one or two people. Nobody responds. They feel disheartened. They feel like, why would they help me? It's okay. Move on. Don't take that to your heart. It doesn't matter. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You have to keep casting your net longer and longer. You will actually find one or two people, and offer them, if you can, anything in return. You can say, hey, I really appreciate your time. If there's anything ever you want me to help, or like if you have any other people you want to mentor, I can help you, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes people do like that. Now, say you do all of those things, you get them to refer you, you get them to connect you, you get a call, right? Now you have to get to the point to ask, how will I clear that bar? Now, one of the biggest things that I've seen people do is they don't fully understand the set of things that the interviewer is looking for. Again, put yourself in the shoe of the interviewer and see what are the things they are looking for and why are they asking you those questions. Again, technical questions are straightforward about coding or design, but again, in those things, understand how are they going to be giving you points on, if you're writing a coding interview, how are you approaching the problem, your test case, your how optimizing you're doing to those things, right? But my point here is that you have to do mock interviews, and there are websites out there, there are people out there that will do mock interviews for you. The more and more mock interviews you give, it will help you figure out your issues, right? So I'm assuming that you're trying to join a company. You're working in an industry. um, so I think the first process there is applying, right? And landing the job. But say you landed the job and you're starting in the company, uh, the first few months are really onboarding. You're onboarding. You have your team, yeah, and you're understanding. What are the deliverables that you need to be doing, right? And the at that point, you're really trying to um, understand the set of projects that are given to you, right? most of the times when you join, you don't have much choice into what projects you're doing. You basically join a team. They tell you, here's what you need to read, here's what you need to do, just go do those things. And at that point, you're really trying to make sure like you do those things. You establish your credibility. You're starting with a clean state over there, right? So I think at that point, I would really encourage folks who are in that scenario is be more communicative. Ask for help. Figure out who you can ask. You don't want to be just asking everything, but you don't also not want to be asking and being blocked for much longer. And then what happens is at that point, your team or manager or whoever it is, right, they'll feel like, okay, I've given you something and you're not delivered on it. But they will not know that until they come asking for you. So what you want to do at that point is kind of establish some level of expectations and be a bit more proactive about it. Sometimes, you join a team, they just expect you to deliver, right? And sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So make sure that you check in with them, set some expectations, ask them, okay, what should I do? When should I escalate? Who should I reach out? What do I do if this happens, right? So be a bit more open in thinking about challenges. Again, if so this is really being more communicative, being curious. You'll have to clock in. You have to do a lot more hard work in those times. There's no easy way out. The more you invest in those early years, the payoffs are really, really good in the later time because you establish a good credibility. And that's really, really important, right? Because if you deliver on time, you're doing things, you get more work. More people will want to work for you. So I would give that tip for people who are joining a company, right? Now say a bit like, say now that you're a little bit early from that phase. You're in a company and you like what you're doing, but now you want to look for a change. The change could be anything. It could be financial, it could be career, it could be something else, like you don't like the place you're in, other situations are there, you have to move, whatever it is, right? I think some of those changes you have to be prepared in planning those things. If you're just waiting and having some external factors drive in, don't be in that situation. Always be prepared to be leaving. Be always thinking about your options. Don't only think about options when you really don't have an option. And that's create a lot of stress. And as I told you, like in stress, you don't do the best. So you really want to understand and kind of be aware of the factors that are happening. If you're in a company that is doing really well, it can change. You could be, I've been at Google, like some of the teams, they had to move those jobs to a different location. Now you're getting impacted. At that point, you didn't network. That time you didn't build relationships. You didn't actually reach out to other people. You didn't invest in those things. But again, don't get settled in. Don't get too comfortable. I think it is the essence of it. Put your 80% in doing your day-to-day job, but put the rest 20% in investing in your future 80%. So I have this rule: do 80-20. Just don't do 100% in one thing. It's good that you give all 100% when you're doing the job, but make sure that you're investing in future. And the investing in future means connections, networking, reading about things, reading about what are the things happening. So be aware of those things. That's really, really important. In any of these stages, this is really important. Talk to people. Make sure you have a diverse set of people that you're talking. Don't talk to just the same people. That's a very, very big mistake we do. We have the same set of friends. We call them, we talk about them, and you are in that same situation and you get the same feedback. Sometimes you have to reach out and get a different perspective, right? But that doesn't come with if you don't invest in those things, right? You don't actually figure out how you want to increase your network, right? You have to build weak ties and strong ties. This is a concept here. So try to do as much as you can, hear their stories. Everyone's journey is different. My journey is different. Your journey is going to be different, right? Some things work for me, some things will not. The same things may not work for you, right? But I think the idea is to get more and more experience, more and more exposures. So again, that is really, really important. I think any point of your career, but I think more so in the beginning uh, stages of your career between 0 to 10 years. It's really, really important that you do these things.
And lastly, so it's a FAANG tradition that you share the three golden, tips for any job seekers that is like, that will be eternal for like years to come in.
Wow, that's a really good tradition. Let me see if I can live up to it. The the first golden tip, I think that's what I started today, is to find a way to not be stressed. I think when you're stressed, your IQ level drops. So find your stress buster, if that's one term for your first one. Find your stress buster during an interview. Find how will you realize you're in a stress and what will you do to de-stress. A lot of people will crack a joke. A lot of people will do something, but do anything, but have some way to know that you can get out of that stressful situation, right? Like say you give a bad answer and now you're panicking. It's like, oh my god, I really messed up there, right? Or something, I don't know, right? So I have that. Second thing I will say that for a job seeker is to look beyond what is not evident there. Try to look for things that is hidden, in the sense like a company has posted a profile and a job requirement. Just don't take that. Think about why they want this. Like, what is their business, right? What is this team, or what is this requirement that they have it, right? If you're applying at, say, Google, you're applying at Facebook, you're applying to a role, think about what are their product strategies. Try to think what their company end goal is, business is. And I think that gives you a little bit more motivation about the company and the job. And I think that really shows when people are talking and they're maybe connecting on the interviews, right? And I think the last tip I'll say that what I mentioned is connections, connections, and connections. Work on your connections, call people on your weekends, spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, talk to new set of five people. So that's what I will say as a rule. Call five new people that you haven't spoken every week. Make that your Sunday call. And these could be completely people who you don't know or your friends know, or these are people you haven't spoken for years. Just call them. I actually had a friend who worked in Dubai, and there was one of my friend, he was looking for a job, and luckily I had made this call. I do this every Sunday, and I knew he was in Dubai, and I connected my friend with him, and he was able to find him a job. Within a day he got a job. And the only reason is, so don't think about, this is where I'm telling you, your connections is not just to help you. It may help you help a friend, and that connection will build there. So somewhere down the line, they can help you connect with someone they know. But again, you're building connections. So I would say make a habit to put a calendar entry on your this, and say like Sundays I will call five people. Look at your phone list, just make a call, right? So again, I think those things will pay you a lot down the line.
Great. So it was lovely, actually, to know all these things and all the wisdom that you have gained over the years. How was your overall experience with us? If you would like to share anything, that you would have for us.
Yeah, I think from the start to connection, talking about the process, talking about here's what will be asked, or here's what we want to discuss, here's the format. I think it was very well set up. I knew what we will be doing. I think you were very accommodating in the time. I definitely wanted to make sure something's on the Google side that I'm complying. So, being patient around that. So I think overall it was really nice experience. I think I think this is where I like being part of FANGPath, is that while there is this underlying um, drive to make things better for the candidates, right? And I think that itself is showing in the work that they're doing, and trying to reach out to more and more people. and this really gets people to do better in their life, right? And I think this itself makes it such a good experience. I really liked it. So, thanks to you, thanks to Disha and Nikita, that you're doing all these good work. So I'm really fortunate to be part of this, to be honest.
It's lovely to have people like you on board and actually learn from your experiences, because like each and every mentor has something else and something different to share from their walks of life. So I think it's a really good thing, it's a really nice exposure to us as well as for our viewers, to just gain insights from people from different, walks of life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy if this helped. And again, I'm always happy to connect and help folks, so that's the other thing.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. So this was the end of our conversation with the very handsome, very intellectual, and a great badminton player, I'm sure, Chandan Bhagat. So to all the viewers, I hope that you would have liked this video. Also, if you have any questions, regarding anything that Mr. Chandan Bhagat spoke on our, video, so you can definitely write it down in the comment section, and we will be happy to discuss all those questions. And we will be coming up with more such mentor sessions. So do stay tuned. Uh, that's it from our side. And yeah, this is the end.
Thank you. All right.
All
See
right.
you.
Thanks a lot, Chandan. Thanks a lot.